One of the things that happens quite often in people photography is that we may have some kind of an unwanted element. Maybe it's a logo or a graphic on a t-shirt that we need to remove. This happens whether we're shooting an editorial, commercial, or personal portrait. And let's say that with this portrait of my cousin and his daughter, we want to remove this graphic here on the t-shirt. Well, how can we go about doing that? Well, one of the things we might want to do is we might want to copy the background layer first so that we can compare the before and after. To do so, let's press Command or Control J to jump those contents or duplicate those contents to a new layer. Next, double click the layer name and let's call this one C1 for Cleanup 1. Next thing we're going to do is press the L key to select the lasso tool. Here we're going to make a pretty tight selection around these items. And one of the things we might try to do is to use content aware fill. Let's go ahead and give that a try, even though I know it's not going to work. And here's why it's not going to work. We don't have enough blue t-shirt for Photoshop to know how to really clean this up. In order to apply content aware fill on a new layer, we press Shift Delete. That opens up our fill dialog, content aware, click OK. And now one of the things we're going to see here is it sampled or brought in other items. That just doesn't work at all. So press Command or Control Z to undo. What else could we use here to quickly remove this? Well, what we can do is we can go down to one of our tools, which is called the Patch tool. You can select that by clicking on the top tool there, and then clicking and holding and selecting Patch. Now with the Patch tool, what we want to do is make sure we're using Source. What that will do is as we click and drag, the source area we're dragging to will cover up the area we've selected here. So let me show you how this works. We'll click and drag down. Nice good area there, and then we'll let go. Now, of course, this won't remove everything, but it did a really good job down here. Now, to finish it off, hold down Option or Alt, and this will then allow us to subtract from this selection. So just lasso up with this tool, this bottom area, so that's no longer selected. And then position your cursor over the area we want to clean up. Make sure you have nice sample area, and then let go. All right, so far so good. Let's deselect by pressing Command on a Mac, Control on Windows, and then the D key. Well, this is looking pretty good except for a couple of little problems. Here we have our before, and then now our after. One of the problems is that this wrinkle right here is repeated twice, as is this wrinkle right here is repeated twice. So let's go ahead and retouch one of those out. We'll make a selection there, click and drag over. We'll just look to do this a couple of different ways. Anywhere where we see a little variation that isn't quite interesting or kind of distracting. And with this wrinkle, I'm just going to look to try to mess it up a little bit, to change the way it looks so that there isn't quite such a repeating pattern there. I like having the wrinkle, I just don't want to have it exactly one-to-one as it was before. So I'm making my way through the shirt, looking for any kind of wrinkle that might be distracting. And then here, we have it so far, cleaning this up really nicely. And then let's press Command D on a Mac, Control D on Windows. And now we have successfully removed that from the shirt here. Click on the eye icon, there's our before, and then now there's our after. The only other thing we might want to do is just modify the tone a little bit. Looks like this area got just a little bit bright. We could do that a couple of different ways. One is you could make a big selection of this and drag it into some darker areas. That will bring in some of the darkness. We could do this multiple times in order to bring up some of that dark color into this area. We could also create a curves adjustment and modify this by masking it in. But in this case, I think for the most part, we did a pretty good job. Once again, here's our before and then our after. Nice work removing those unwanted graphics on that t-shirt.